So, but like what happens is with actors, you're in a vulnerable situation. You know, you're in a vulnerable place, you're trying to get a job, and there's people who, and it's not just actors, it's any men in positions of power who could use that power to abuse it.
And I will say this, I've met many women here, young women, who have told me, I've lived in New York City for years, and it's a hard town. But when I came out here, I have never seen people, the level of wickedness of what people will do for money and power, they will do anything to get that. And meaning anything, I'll leave that up to your imagination.
I'm going to make movies here without them, without Hollywood. I'll find out a way, or I won't, and I'll figure out something else to do. But let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to sit and be silenced and say I'm not going to speak my mind, because I do believe that we have a chance to do something special coming up. It's worth whatever movies that they don't want to hire me for.
Rob Schneider stood in front of a camera last year and said something that made an entire room go quiet. He didn't accuse anyone by name, he didn't throw a tantrum or post a cryptic tweet. He just told the truth about how Hollywood actually works. And that was enough to make him radioactive. That's the thing about this industry. It doesn't punish bad behavior. It punishes honesty. Most people still think of Rob Schneider as the guy from Saturday Night Live, the guy who showed up in every Adam Sandler movie, the comedian who made a whole career out of being the lovable underdog. And for a long time, that was enough. Studios liked him. Checks kept coming. He played the game, and the game rewarded him for it. Then he stopped playing. What followed wasn't some dramatic public blowout or a headline-grabbing scandal. It was quieter than that. And honestly, that makes it more unsettling. Rob started speaking openly about the pressures inside the entertainment machine, about who really controls what gets made, who gets greenlit, and who gets quietly shelved, and why the movies coming out of Hollywood in the last decade have started feeling less like art and more like product placement with a plot.
They started making these decisions, and all you have to do is go back and look to a couple of years ago, the decision, you cannot win an Academy Award unless you have 40% LGBTQ, unless you have people, a certain percentage of color, the crew is this, and here's what you never hear from a 14-year-old, which is, those are the people who go see more movies than anybody else. Let's go see that new movie this week. I hear it's got 20% LGBTQ trans, and the boom guy was Native American.
Yeah, right.
So you became this identity politics, and this other thing became more important than the actual craft itself. And that got into the bottom line.
And the industry didn't fire back with a statement or a press release. It just went silent on him. No calls, no offers, no invitations. That's how Hollywood eliminates someone it finds inconvenient, not with a fight, with a freeze.
It is going to cost you to speak your mind. It is going to cost you. Be judicious. If you know your counselor is liberal, be careful in there. However, talk to people. I have an Academy Award-winning actor's son called me and said, I wish I could speak up like you do. I wish I could say I want to. And I said, be careful. Don't put it on Facebook, because then they will take away your jobs. You will get fired. You will not get hired. But I said, but you can talk to the makeup lady. You can talk to the boom guy. You can talk to the driver. So you have to be judicious about it.
What makes Rob Schneider's story worth paying attention to right now is the timing. Because he's not alone in what he's describing, and the cracks he's pointing to in the studio system are getting harder and harder to paper over. Box office numbers are collapsing, audiences are tuning out, and more insiders are starting to say out loud what used to only get whispered in parking lots after meetings. So what exactly did Rob say? And why does it have so many powerful people quietly furious? Rob didn't wake up one morning and decide to blow everything up. This was a slow burn, years in the making, and it started with something a lot of people in Hollywood quietly agree with but never say out loud. He began noticing that the movies being greenlit weren't being chosen because they were good. They were being chosen because they served a purpose, a corporate purpose, a political purpose, sometimes both at once. Studios weren't asking, will audiences love this? They were asking, who benefits from this getting made?
Yeah.
Aren't the best judges of what movies should be made for children and their families. I hope Disney comes around. They see what happens when they get too woke. They get spanked.
Yeah.
They get spanked, and they that's a company that I got to root for, and I got to hope that they right the ship. And money has a strange way. That's the thing about America. People come from all over, in America, whatever their belief system. America has a wonderful seductiveness about working your butt off. You get successful, making money. And so we've had a wonderful check and balance here. Usually with what makes the most money, let's keep doing that.
Yes.
So I would hope that Disney rights its ship and gets away from this trying to indoctrinize our children.
That shift didn't happen overnight. Rob has talked about watching it creep in gradually, like a fog rolling in off the water. First, it was subtle. A note here, a script change there. Then it became the whole game.
You recently revealed you were assaulted by a director.
Well,
why did you reveal it?
It was just something that
Female director?
No, it wasn't.
Male director?
No, I wouldn't have considered that an assault. But there was, this stuff that came out recently about Harvey Weinstein. I mean, first of all, I think I never knew that he was he was a rapist.
Harvey, well, I didn't know that.
I know. I think it's very common knowledge that producers can be pigs and piggish, and that would be hitting on women or being, cheating on your wife. That's what I would consider being piggish, not the assault. A guy who's now he's going to have to the next time he goes into Starbucks, he's going to have to call the police and register. I'm going to Starbucks to get some.
He's been particularly vocal about what he calls the death of the comedy. And he has a point that's hard to argue with. Think about the last genuinely funny Hollywood comedy you saw in a theater. Not a superhero movie with a few jokes in it. An actual comedy, built around a character, driven by a premise, designed purely to make you laugh until your face hurts. When was that? Rob says it's not a coincidence that the genre basically vanished. Comedies are dangerous to a system that needs everyone to take it seriously. A joke can puncture a narrative faster than any op-ed or think piece, and Hollywood, which used to be the home of sharp, fearless comedy, decided somewhere along the line that laughing at the wrong things was a liability.
But all those, that's the weird thing is all those guys, I assume, because you've lived in that world.
I know most of them, but it's easy to, and God bless them, and I hope that they can come around to become more independent in their thinking, because you can literally replace the dialogue, the jokes from one late night guy to the next guy, and then put them in the mouth of this guy, and it's just there's no individual point of view, because it is really ideologically captured and trapped. And I hope that they would realize that that's limiting. I would hope that you realize,
limiting, soul destroying.
I don't think it's good. And I think people have woken up to it and go that's not representative of our country.
So the genre got quietly strangled. What's wild is that Rob Schneider was saying all of this before it became fashionable to criticize the studios. He wasn't riding a wave of anti-Hollywood sentiment. He was ahead of it, which meant he was also alone in it. And alone is exactly where the industry wants you when it decides to make an example out of you. Because that's when they move in. And they did move in. Quietly, efficiently, and with the kind of coordinated coldness that only a system with decades of practice can pull off.
And when I was
looking for a job,
when I was a young actor, I was asked to go to a hotel room of a director. There was a famous director, and I didn't think anything weird by it because I never happened to me. And so I went, and he was in his robe. I still didn't think it was weird. Well, he probably just came out of the shower or whatever. And then he asked me to do, to do the scene and then crawl on my belly around it. And it got to a weird place. And I just, when this stuff started coming out with Harvey Weinstein, I did remember that feeling of disgust.
Rob Schneider started noticing the doors closing one by one. Projects he was attached to suddenly lost funding. Calls that used to get returned in an hour started going to voicemail permanently. He's spoken about this in interviews with a kind of calm that's almost more chilling than anger would be, because you can tell he's had time to sit with it, to understand exactly what happened and why.
Because the ratings are getting smaller.
Yeah.
The number one guy is a very funny Greg Gutfeld. My buddy Jamie Lissow goes on the show all the time. That's the number one show. So if it's about ratings, about money, well, then think about the money. And I think eventually Hollywood, if they're anything, they're whores, and they will do what makes money. You think that Sony Pictures wants to have a Christian division? They didn't care about that, but they do now. Why? Because people like Angel Studios are making money non-traditionally, and they didn't see that coming.
The freeze-out wasn't just professional. It got personal. There were events he was quietly uninvited from. Industry circles that used to welcome him started treating him like a name you don't say too loudly in certain rooms. And none of it came with an explanation, because that's not how Hollywood operates. There's no formal meeting where they tell you you're done. You just stop getting the calls, and eventually you figure it out.
When Mel Gibson made Passion of the Christ, they tried to destroy that.
Oh, I remember very, very well. They hated him for that.
And they did not take him out. And that became the first real internet-like sensation. And they couldn't stop it.
He's a tough man.
He can take it because he has a faith in God. And he's like,
Yeah.
and Catholicism is the closest to the original words of Jesus. And that's why it works for me. That we must carry, and that we must carry on for our children. And whatever they take away from me, if you have God, at a certain point, I felt so peaceful during when I'm getting attacked. And it's because people are praying for me. God loves me. And there's a temptation. The world, you can get this. You know? And I said, well, I think I'm okay. I think I'm all right. I'm doing good. I feel strong in the Lord. And then the devil will go like, what if somebody in your own family says something against you? What? What happened? What'd they say? What?
What Rob described experiencing is something that other outspoken figures in the industry have confirmed in their own words. It's a social and professional infrastructure that runs on loyalty to the consensus. Step outside that consensus, and the infrastructure simply reroutes around you.
And
Did you reveal
humiliation, I didn't, because he's passed away, and I feel like if he can't defend himself, I feel weird about saying his name. But he was a famous director who worked with, he did big movies, and so. But I remember that humiliation, and I didn't tell anybody. And it's interesting because when I've seen online like Rob Schneider. I don't believe anyone would harass Rob Schneider. He's not good looking enough. And so, that's what's not. So now I understand.
Somebody said that?
Yes, not just several people said that. But I get why women, why they wouldn't want to talk about it. If they say that to me about me, imagine other women. It's humiliating. Why would you want to admit this happened and that you were in this situation?
Here's where it gets genuinely interesting, though. Because Rob didn't fold. He didn't issue an apology, didn't walk anything back, didn't quietly rebrand himself as someone safe and palatable. He kept talking. He did podcasts, independent interviews, stand-up sets where he addressed it directly.
And so there's this beautiful movie that we want to make, and I'm going to make that. And it's just expensive to make movies, and obviously, I don't find myself in the good graces of Hollywood right now. But luckily, there are enough people who want to bring a message of healing.
Are you going to approach Disney with that movie?
No.
You don't think Disney's going to come around anytime soon?
It's so funny is that when I got the Disney Channel, my ego was like, maybe they have the on the Disney Channel they have the hot chick, and they would never make that movie now. And I started trying, and they didn't have it on there. But it's on Amazon Prime, baby.
Right, if I know you're motivated by money, we could work together, right? I could imagine there would be circumstances under which that might not go so well for me, but most of the time I can predict exactly what you're going to do.
We could find a place where we can agree on something that's beneficial to both of us.
Yeah, right, we could agree that we both want to make money.
And something unexpected started happening. People started listening, not just fans of his old movies, but younger audiences who had never particularly cared about Rob Schneider, the SNL cast member. They were tuning in because what he was saying was resonating with something they were already feeling about the entertainment they were being served. And that is the thing that scares a studio system more than any negative press, an audience that starts thinking for itself. Because here's the part that nobody in a studio boardroom wants to admit. Rob Schneider's growing independent audience isn't a fluke. It's a symptom of something much bigger that's been building for years.
I would just say I've been in Hollywood a long time, and I will say that the P. Diddy white parties are going to be orange now. I've never been to any of those parties. I didn't know about them, but I will say you have to know them by their actions. and their actions seem to be of lies. Not being welcome in Hollywood anymore has been the greatest thing that ever happened, because for me, this country and a chance to speak up for and stand up for continued freedom and for your young voices and your opportunities so that you can live in the freest country, the freest experiment in history, in the history of the world, that is worth me not ever making Deuce Bigalow 3, 4, and 5.
And it's the same pattern that shows up every single time a high-profile name decides to stop playing nice with the machine. And Rob is not the first, not even close. Corey Feldman spent years trying to get Hollywood to take seriously what he was saying about abuse inside the industry. And for a long time, the response was either silence or outright mockery.
But when they said that, it was so terrifying and frightening for what many of them had witnessed or seen and heard firsthand. And I think that the Me Too movement was growing like all movements grow organically, Occupy, Tea Party. And what they end up doing is they are Standing Rock. They end up coming in and dismantling them or co-opting them and turning them into their own messaging. And I think that's what Me Too did. I think that's what my personal opinion is. I think that's what Time's Up did. Even though it was done under the guise of creating a fund for victims and helping them, but it was also a PR campaign to sweep all this other stuff under the rug, like we've got it under control, we've contained it, it's over with. No, you still have these people in positions of power running studios, running networks, and hire them.
The system didn't engage with his claims. It just buried him under a reputation for being erratic, difficult, unreliable. That's the playbook. You don't discredit the message. You discredit the person delivering it. And you do it so thoroughly that anyone else thinking about speaking up watches what happened and decides it's not worth the risk. That tactic worked for decades. It doesn't work as well anymore. The difference now is the internet, and more specifically, the fact that audiences no longer need a studio's permission to find someone worth listening to. Rob Schneider can sit down for a 2-hour conversation on an independent platform and reach more people than a mid-budget studio film would in its opening weekend. That's not an exaggeration. That's just the current reality of where attention actually lives. And the studios are terrified of that reality because their entire leverage over talent was always built on controlling distribution. You need us to reach the audience. You need our theaters, our marketing machine, our relationships with press outlets. Without us, you're nobody. That threat doesn't land the same way it used to. Which raises a question that the industry has been desperately trying not to answer out loud. If the gatekeepers no longer control the gate, what exactly are they still selling? And more importantly, who is still buying it? The honest answer is that fewer people are buying it every year, and the box office numbers are not lying about that. 2023 was supposed to be Hollywood's big comeback story after the pandemic years gutted theater attendance. And sure, there were bright spots, a few massive films that performed the way studios needed them to. But strip those outliers out and look at the broader picture, and what you see is an industry bleeding audience trust at a rate that no marketing budget is fixing. Rob Schneider has pointed to this directly. He said that the product itself has gotten worse because the people making the decisions stopped caring about the audience and started caring about everything else. The metrics, the messaging, the quarterly earnings calls, the optics. And when you stop making things for the people watching and start making things for the people investing, the people watching eventually notice. They always notice. What makes Rob's position genuinely fascinating right now is that he's moved into a space that Hollywood has no framework for dealing with. He's not begging for his seat back at the table. He's not launching a comeback tour designed to get him back in good graces with the right executives. He's building something separate, something outside the system entirely. And he's doing it with an audience that followed him there specifically, because they're done with the system too. That is the plot twist nobody saw coming 5 years ago. The comedian who got frozen out didn't disappear. He became a case study in what happens when Hollywood's punishment stops working the way it's supposed to. And other people in the industry are watching that very carefully. Because if Rob Schneider can get pushed out, go fully independent, and still build a platform with real reach and real loyalty, then the threat that kept everyone in line for decades starts looking a lot less threatening. The question now isn't whether Hollywood is losing its grip. It's how many more people are about to realize it. Rob Schneider's story isn't really about one comedian falling out with one industry. It's about what happens when a system built on silence meets someone who simply refuses to stay quiet. And the fact that we're talking about it, that his voice is louder now than it was when he was fully inside the machine, says everything about where the power is actually shifting. Hollywood has survived scandals, strikes, recessions, and a global pandemic, but it has never had to survive an audience that stopped needing it. That might be the one thing it doesn't know how to come back from. Rob saw it coming before most people were willing to admit it was happening. And whether you agree with everything he says or not, the conversation he forced into the open is one the industry was never going to start on its own. That's worth something. If this story had you thinking, drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you want more Hollywood deep dives that go beyond the surface level, hit subscribe, because there is so much more where this came from. Give this video a like if you think the truth about Hollywood needs to be talked about more. See you in the next one.